Here's assignment 8.4c, graphing sine and cosine. Some little hints to get you started on it. So the first two problems, you just have to identify the amplitude, just the amplitude and the period. Amplitude is how tall it gets from the midline, so the amplitude on this one is 1. And the period, it takes clear over to here to get one complete revolution or one complete cycle. So that would be 2 pi, 4 pi, 6 pi. Let's look over here at A. Amplitude is 1, period is 5. So we know that the equation is y equals 1, the sine of x, but I'm just going to write 1 sine. Now this one's a little tricky because the period is 5, but we don't know the cycle. So we know that the period is equal to 2 pi divided by the cycle. So 5 is equal to 2 pi divided by c. Then if you multiply both sides by c and divide by 5, you get this equation, which is c equals 2 pi over 5. So that's the cycle, and that's B, that goes right here. 2 pi over 5. Now, a real common mistake is to forget the x or the theta. So you always have to have an x and a y in your equations. Looking at number 5. Determine the number of cycles, find the amplitude and the period. So the number of cycles, and we're always looking from 0 to 2 pi. So from 0 to 2 pi is all the way over here. So there's 1, 2, 3. So the number of cycles is 3. The amplitude, it goes up to 2. And the periods is you take 2 pi and divide it by the number, 2 pi, and divide it by the number of cycles, so it's 2 pi over 3. Number 9, your friend said that the amplitude of y equals -4 sine of x is -4. What error did she make? Okay, so think about that for a minute. Is amplitude ever a negative number? And the answer is no, it's not. So it's always a positive number. So we take the absolute value of whatever the number is in front of the trig function. So it would be absolute value of -4 is equal to +4. That's the amplitude. Sketch one cycle of each of these. So here we have an amplitude of 1.5. So I'm going to say that's 1, that's 2. So it's going to go halfway in between there. There's -1 and -2. So it's going to go halfway underneath. One complete period is at pi. So it's going to have 2 complete periods at 2 pi. And this is sine, so we start at 0. It goes up to 1/2, down to 1/2, back up to pi, up to 1/2, down to 1/2, back up to 2 pi. The next thing you have to know how to do is determine the number of cycles each sine function has in the interval from 0 to 2 pi. Then also find the amplitude and period. So number of cycles is 2. It's the number before the theta or before the x. The amplitude is 1. It's the number in front of the trig function. And the period would be 2 pi divided by 2, or just pi. On the back, sketch the graph of each function. And notice that we are now looking at cosine. So some practice graphing the cosines. The amplitude is 3. So I know it goes down to -3. There are 2 cycles, and each cycle is 1 pi long. So I know it's going to have a cycle at pi, and then another one out to 2 pi. It's always a good idea to graph out to 2 pi. That's kind of the common thing. So cosine starts up here, goes down to -3 and back up, and down to -3 and back up again. And there's the graph. Write the equation. So again, I always start with the amplitude. Amplitude is 2. The cycles, if you notice, it only goes through one complete cycle in 2 pi. And the period is 2 pi. Because 2 pi divided by 1 is just 2 pi. So the equation for this, and again, we're cosine because it starts up here and goes down, is 2 cosine of x. Last one. A helicopter lowers a rope ladder to a scuba diver floating in the ocean surface. I just thought I'd get you started out by drawing a picture, because there might be some confusion on what the picture might look like. So it says that it goes 4 feet above the lowest level of the water every 8 seconds. So if we start up here, and it goes down and then comes back up again. And it said write a cosine function, so that's why I started up here. So it says it's 4 feet above the highest, or above the lowest level. So that means from the bottom up to the top is 4. So that means that this is 2, and it goes down to -2 because the midline would be halfway between that. So hopefully that helps you get started on there. One complete period would be 8 seconds. So that's where the 8 would go, is right there, 8 seconds. So you know the amplitude. Amplitude is 2. The cycle is 8 seconds. So you should be able to write the equation with that much information. Okay, good luck. Let me know if you have any questions or if I made a mistake, let me know. I love you to spot mistakes. Let me know.